Remember Alexee Treviso, the 19-year-old cheerleader who stands accused of the tragic incident involving the suffocation of her infant, whose lifeless body was abandoned in a hospital trash can? And when she was confronted by the ER doctor, Alexee admitted to placing the baby in the trash can and apologized for her actions.
We discovered a dead baby in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. It came out of me and I didn't know what to do.
Alexee, I told you about this.
It
I just asked you, baby, to tell me the truth.
scared. It was not crying or nothing.
Well, on August 23rd, Alexee and her attorney attended a pretrial hearing to address the terms of her release. Specifically, her lawyer formally petitioned the court to lift the restrictions concerning her interactions with her boyfriend. The request aimed to eliminate the ban on her in-person contact with her boyfriend, Devin, who happens to be enrolled at the same university that Alexee had committed to attending. Prior to the hearing, Alexee had been attending online classes at New Mexico State University to ensure her compliance with the conditions of her bond.
Okay. Here's the problem that I'm asking. They both attend the same university.
Okay.
It's the second largest university in the state. My client is trying to stay at home, and take classes from the university. So we tried to avoid that problem this semester because I didn't have an order and hadn't had this heard before then. But I'm asking that the court take a look at the motion and the state's response, because one, I don't believe we can order that in that fashion because of the cases I cited to the court, including Johnson and some other cases. And two, she has not violated that whatsoever. The judge allowed them to communicate via telephone and or gosh, there's so many different media ways to communicate, but they couldn't be in person. And she's honored that. She doesn't go out at all, other than to come to my office. The court allowed her to go see her grandparents. And other than that, she's at home. She doesn't go out. You don't see her at Walmart, anywhere else. But going to college and of course, her professors, even though she's doing this by Zoom, I'm not sure what they're going to require when it comes time for examinations as to whether she can do those via that method or she has to go to down to the university and take examinations. We're trying to avoid all those problems this semester.
During the hearing, Judge Schuler Gray made a ruling in favor of Alexee, granting her permission to attend in-person classes at the university. And she lifted the in-person contact restriction, deeming it inappropriate in the context of this case.
I would really like to look at this more, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to modify the conditions of release. I'll allow her to go. It's New Mexico State in Las Cruces, right?
That's correct, Your Honor. It is.
Big university, huge. I don't know what the student count is, but I'm sure it's several thousand. Las Cruces is a sizable city. Personally, counsel, I'm really trying to get in my mind how you can invoke a prohibition against personal contact. First off, nobody's invoked the DV statute. There's been no allegation of it. I don't think that translates into this. I really don't. My gut reaction is that does not translate. Granted, you can order that anybody who's under charges cannot commit any further criminal acts. And I certainly think that's absolutely reasonable. She should get her conditions revoked if she gets charged with any further criminal acts. But I don't see how the DV statutes can even be applied in this case, notwithstanding what Judge Schubert said originally or anything else. Certainly, she commits any other criminal act, she should have her conditions of release reviewed, absolutely. But I really don't think that a DV statute defining continuing personal relationship and prohibiting such can be translated into this situation. That's my read on it.
Well, this ruling sparked outrage among certain concerned citizens who, just days following the hearing, started a petition on change.org requesting that authorities and NMSU reconsider Alexee's admission to the school. The petition urged both authorities and NMSU to reevaluate Alexee's enrollment. Titled, Get Alexee Treviso Off NMSU Campus, the petition has now garnered nearly 23,000 signatures. Well, Alexee's lawyer has some pretty strong words for the signers of this petition, and he also reveals some really strange new details about what went on in that hospital bathroom in the early morning of January 27th. We're going to get into it, but first be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on updates to this story, trending topics, and so much more. Now let's get into it. Following her arrest in May, Alexee Trevizo was permitted to return home and resume her school year activities. This continued until the autopsy report was released, revealing the presence of air in her baby's lungs. The autopsy report directly contradicted Alexee's initial statement to the hospital staff, where she mentioned that the child was not breathing. More specifically, she said nothing was crying. In my view, the phrases nothing was crying and nothing was breathing convey two distinctly different messages, and I believe that will be explored in the trial. The baby could indeed have been breathing, just as the autopsy report stated, but just not crying. Not every baby is born crying. Many have to be encouraged to cry at birth. So on May 10th, Alexee was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Despite prosecutors' objections, the judge granted her bail. And upon her release on $100,000 bond, the judge imposed a restriction prohibiting her from having any in-person contact with her boyfriend, who had acknowledged being the baby daddy. Alexee was allowed to attend her prom with her boyfriend, and she had initially planned to participate in her high school graduation, but the school later requested that she refrain from attending the ceremony. Following a modification of her release conditions by the judge in May, Alexee spent her summer in Texas with her grandparents. On August 23rd, Alexee received yet another modification of her release when the judge granted her permission to attend NMSU in person. During the same hearing, the judge also approved Alexee's request for in-person contact with her child's father, Devin Fierro. It was this change that caused concerned citizens of New Mexico to rally. Just days following the hearing, they started a petition requesting authorities and New Mexico State University to reconsider Alexee's admission to the school. The petition, which is now approaching 23,000 signatures, was launched last Thursday by Evelyn Graciano. It urges authorities and educational institutions to swiftly act in preventing Alexee Trevizo from pursuing a career in nursing, social work, or any educational field. It also says that allowing someone who has been involved in such a heinous crime to pursue an education, especially one that involves caring for others, is not only morally wrong, but also poses significant risks to potential patients or clients. The petition also calls for stricter background checks and screening processes for individuals seeking entry into these professions to ensure the safety of vulnerable populations. It also calls for better collaboration with local law enforcement agencies to ensure that individuals charged with violent crimes aren't allowed to work in these fields. It says, "We believe that Alexee's recent actions, which include being charged with murder of her newborn baby by throwing the infant into a trash can, demonstrate an alarming lack of empathy and disregard for human life." Now, it's true that Alexee was charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence in May after secretly delivering her baby boy at Artesia General Hospital, but she hasn't been convicted of any crime. She is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Yet, concerned citizens of New Mexico are urging NMSU to reconsider Alexee's admission to the university. It says that by denying Alexee Trevizo entry into the university or any other educational institution within our state, we can prioritize both public safety and ethical standards. The petition repeatedly mentions Alexee's alleged pursuit of a career in nursing or social work, yet there is no substantiated evidence to validate this. Inside Edition reports that Alexee is not presently engaged in a career path related to nursing or social work. Since the petition has garnered so many signatures, many media outlets have been picking up this story, several of which have reached out to Evelyn Graciano, the petition's writer, who has since removed mention of her name from the site and has made no comment. Justin Bannister, who is the Associate Vice President for Marketing and Communications at NMSU, told Fox News Digital that no student named Evelyn Graciano or anyone who shares that surname is enrolled at or employed by the university. In fact, it's also been shared that Evelyn, the petition's writer, is not a New Mexico resident at all. She lives in California. Upon hearing about this, Alexee's attorney, Gary Mitchell, offered a less than favorable response to the petition and all who signed it. Mr. Mitchell characterizes the nearly 23,000 strong petition aimed at barring Alexee from college as a bunch of prejudiced nonsense. He claims that the individuals who have signed the petition, which he characterized as closed-minded, biased, and prejudiced, might come to understand that Alexee did not commit the alleged crime if they knew all of the relevant facts. Mr. Mitchell pledges to present evidence demonstrating that Alexee was administered a combination of medications unsuitable for pregnant women, let alone those in labor. He also says that the hospital bears responsibility for the baby's tragic demise, that the medical staff administered drugs such as morphine, which led to the infant's death before birth. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists say that while it's generally not advised to use morphine extensively during pregnancy, morphine is typically employed during the initial phases of labor. Gary Mitchell also told Fox News Digital that Alexee's child was born with some pretty serious breathing issues that could have had a cumulative effect alongside the morphine in his system. I guess we'll never know that fully because not only did she put the baby into the trash can, giving him no chance at survival, but she also self-administered during her pregnancy medications that are unsuitable for pregnant women. If this is the argument he's going to hang his hat on, then it's going to be tough to prove whose medications are responsible for the death of the baby. Is it Alexee's phentermine or the hospital's morphine? Phentermine is a contraindicated medication for pregnant women. Alexee's lawyer goes on to say that when she gave birth into the commode because she didn't know she was pregnant, Alexee tried to salvage the baby. She held the baby and put the baby in the sink. Attorney Mitchell told Fox News the baby never cried, the baby never breathed, the baby never moved its eyelids, the baby never showed signs of life. She didn't know what to do. That's the story. That's this case. He said the story is a little different than what the nearly 20,000 idiots trying to keep her out of school are saying. Gary maintains the claim that his client is innocent of all charges and all crimes, and that she never realized she was pregnant until she started giving birth in the hospital on the morning of January 27th. I must admit, the lawyer's statements can be extremely frustrating. It's perplexing to fathom the circumstances where Alexee placed the baby in the sink and searched for signs of life, while those who could have helped provide aid were just outside the bathroom door, almost on the verge of breaking in. And this included her mother. Let's not overlook the fact that she had the option to use the call button as well. This narrative is inconsistent when considering that if Alexee had the presence of mind to carry out the actions her lawyer mentions, one might wonder what happened to her supposed state of shock. It's a valid question. Was her state of shock only active when she engaged in activities that could be considered criminal? Did it suddenly vanish when she was holding the baby, monitoring him for vital signs, and moving him to the sink? The more the lawyer speaks, the more it raises eyebrows and makes it increasingly challenging to find even a modicum of credibility in her defense. The lawsuit, filed in July, alleges that negligence and improperly administered medication caused the death of the baby. But now we are hearing that she stood there at the sink, rendering no proper aid to this baby. And then after thinking about it, she put him into the trash can, then walked out of the bathroom saying nothing for nearly an hour. Yet she wants to blame everyone she went to such great lengths to hide this from. Who's gonna believe this? Let me know in the comments whether you believe this. All perspectives are encouraged. A jury will be made up of people with varied perspectives, and I'd love to hear yours. Alexee, who locked herself in the hospital bathroom to secretly deliver and allegedly kill the baby, at first claimed the child was stillborn, but medical examiners ruled the death a homicide. Something is telling me that her lawyer's sudden claim that she tried to salvage the baby, that will soon turn into she tried CPR. On August 29th, a rep from NMSU posted a statement on the petition, and it says, Alexee Trevizo is enrolled at NMSU and is currently taking classes online. NMSU can't discuss the admissions process for individual students. According to the school's code of conduct, disciplinary measures, including expulsion, can be enforced if the student's purported misconduct significantly affects, interferes with, or inflicts substantial harm upon the NMSU mission or its reputation. The student code of conduct expressly prohibits violations of the law. Alexee Trevizo is scheduled to go on trial for murder next August. She faces up to life in prison if convicted. What do you think about the petition? Have the concerned citizens of New Mexico gone too far? If so, why? Do you believe the newly released claims that Alexee was in shock, yet she went to the sink, noticed no signs of life, tried to salvage the baby, and then ultimately decided he was trash? Do you believe that? If you believe Alexee was in shock, when would you say it took hold? Let's continue the conversation down in the comments. I'll meet you there.